I just want generations coming after me to be better than me. That is not happening. Most teachers are the most loving, loyal, passionate human beings that want the best for kids, right? You already take that passion and you add, good pay. It's gonna make an exponential increase in motivation and, student educational output. When people are like, oh, well, why are you complaining about so much grading homework? You're the one that had assignment. Yeah, I want to teach the kids I want to teach the kids the topic, It's kind of stupid now that I think back on it. And a lot of these parents don't even know how to parent, and they get mad at the teacher for giving the kid a bad grade, yelling at the kid or punishing the kid when the kid's being horrible because of how you raised them. What's up, guys? How's it going? And today I have had this opinion for a while, and I want to talk about it. And it's something that annoys me, Teachers need to be paid more. I don't know why they are not. I don't get it at all. I think it's something that, I don't know if I want to say it gets overlooked, but it's something that hasn't been fixed. I don't understand it. They're kind of the sole, people that are bringing up who's going to run the world next. I don't understand why the government doesn't pay teachers more. I don't understand it. Why wouldn't you invest and pay teachers more in order to have an outcome of better generations coming up and making the country a better place? Now, I know that there's probably thousands of reasons and factors into this on why it's like this, whether it be how things were and then, how history happens and how it turns out today, things that can't be undone. But I'm just going to kind of go through in this video why I think teachers should be paid more, what I think the government needs to do. I don't know how hard it is to do these things, but I think what they need to do. And then lastly, what you can do, what we can do to kind of help this, because it's hard, honestly, to make change. But like I kind of said in the intro, teachers shape the future workforce. When every doctor, engineer, mechanic, entrepreneur, they all learn from teachers. A lot of those professions make a ton of money too. So why can't teachers, if they're the ones teaching them that, Teachers are leaving. They're being unmotivated, they're leaving, and they're not staying, and they're not happy. It's clear. It's very clear, in my opinion. And if they are happy, they're forcing it, and I don't want them to do that. I want them to actually be happy, and they need to be paid. What teachers have to go through is crazy. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen videos online. It's crazy. The kids, especially these days, what they have to deal with the kids. I just want generations coming after me to be better than me. That is not happening. I think we can see that that's not happening. I don't know where the line is between different and better, but I think it leans way more toward different than better, in my opinion. When you undervalue teachers, it means undervaluing the entire pipeline of talent that is going to drive the future economy. And right now, we're doing a great job at doing that. Educational outcome and behavioral outcome from kids, in my opinion, is going to be dependent on the teachers, right? So if you pay teachers more, that can lead to more motivated and less stressed teachers, which will directly benefit the education and upraising of our kids, right? Many teachers are quitting. What they're doing is they're posting videos saying they're done. And the two reasons are the caliber of kids they have to deal with, right? And the low pay. So it's a downward spiral, I think higher wages would not only attract better talent to the teaching pool, but it would keep them in the classrooms and it would keep them motivated, And I think this typically happens with most jobs. When there's a shortage of people, those jobs pay more. And, since teachers are mostly a publicly funded profession, I just think the government needs to do better at sort of, raising the benefits and raising the attraction to the profession, because it's at an all-time low right now. Most teachers, there are some jerks, most teachers are the most loving, loyal, passionate human beings that want the best for kids. And what they do is they want to see the best in people, at least teachers that I've had, and I've been in public and private schools. All of the teachers, for the most part, are very loyal and dedicated to making future generations as best as they can. They're not the type of people that are going to take advantage of any monetary benefits or whatever benefits you throw at them. They're not going to, take the money and run, so to speak. I think it's going to do a good job. You already take that passion and you add, good pay. It's going to, I think it's going to make an exponential increase in motivation and, student educational output. And what it's going to do, too, is it's going to reduce burnout. Because a lot of these teachers are burnt out because, they have to teach all day and then they have to go back home and grade shit. They're not even on the clock. And they're, grading and making lesson plans, And it's making burnout. They're quitting. They have to deal with the kids. They're quitting and they're low paid. So now what's happening is you have less experienced hires coming in because they need work. They're willing to accept less pay. And they're not as good as some of the teachers that are leaving because they're sick of it, A lot of teachers even have to take second jobs to make ends meet, and they have to grade at home along with lesson plan and all that. That's horrible. And even though it's they're on salary though, it doesn't matter. Yes, they have they have breaks, they have some breaks, and they're on. Even if they are on salary, it doesn't take away from the fact of the amount of workload, what they have to deal with, and their actual job is preparing, the future generations. I don't care if they're on salary, how much breaks they get. They're underpaid and they're underappreciated. They're not compensated for that extra time at home, that they have to lesson plan, have meetings, I would say they have one of the biggest workloads in America of job. They're constantly grading or making new lessons, and it's all in good faith. When people are like, oh, well, why are you complaining about so much grading homework? You're the one that assignment. Yeah, I want to teach the kids I want to teach the kids the topic, It's kind of stupid now that I think back on it. And back then I was like, oh, why would you assign it? Well, now that I'm an adult, I could tell they're obviously trying to teach you the content and make you a good student and good worker. So they have to kind of do it, They're not going to not do it. So they have a break. Their sole job is to make you a better worker, And then teachers' salaries in many regions haven't kept up with inflation. And it's hard for them to even afford housing and stuff. A lot of times they have to marry someone they don't have to. They're doing it because they love them, but they're married to someone else who has a higher income because you can't survive off teaching income unless you live in a tiny apartment with no expenses. A lot of them have families and stuff, they can't. It's all dependent on their partner. If they're a teacher, their joint income, because they can't do that. They can't on their own, And I think also higher pay also shows the necessary respect we should have as a society to teachers, And we can say, teacher appreciation, we can say it all day, but how much is that doing versus actually saying, hey, we appreciate you, we respect you, here's some higher wages, because what you do is very, very important. Along with the mega workload they have, which I already talked a whole bunch about, they have to deal with the idiot parents of a lot of these kids. And a lot of these parents don't even know how to parent. And they get mad at the teacher for giving the kid a bad grade, yelling at the kid or punishing the kid, when the kid's being horrible because of how you raised them. When a kid acts bad in a classroom, it's a kid, right? It's because their parents didn't raise them well. Obviously, there's exceptions, okay? For the most part, if your kid's acting out, it's because the parents are either not there, they're not doing a good job raising it, or they're spoiling the kid. I think a big step here is to raise your kids properly so the teachers can do their job, okay? The teacher isn't supposed to be parenting your kid. They're supposed to be teaching your kid, and you're supposed to be parenting your kid, okay? They need to be behaving in the classroom. If my kid's misbehaving in the classroom, oh my God, he's going to hear it from me, okay? So they're doing all this, and then they have to deal with the idiot parents who don't respect the teacher at all, and they have to explain to them, basically that they're being a bad parent. Here's why your kid's doing bad. He's not doing this. What the hell's going on? Because the teacher can't control what goes on at home, and the parent can absolutely control what goes on in the classroom if you raise your kid right. Okay, so those are all kind of the reasons why teachers deserve to be paid more. Let's get into kind of what the government can do so we can take some action. First, I think they just need to increase increase funding to education. It's that simple. You need to allocate more from the state and federal budgets to educational institutions, not toward necessarily the principal or the admin. It needs to be more toward the actual people in the field, the teachers that are actually doing the teaching. I feel like when a lot of funding for education gets increased, it all goes to admin or stuff like that. It needs to go to the teachers' wages, honestly, because They're the ones that are actually doing the teaching. A lot of people are going to say, oh, well, if you want to do that, you have to raise taxes. Well, I don't think so. I think that there are many things the government's giving money to that are very stupid, okay? Anybody on either side of any political view can say this is stupid or this is stupid or this is stupid. There's going to be some collateral things. If you had a list, right, of every single thing the government spends your taxes on, you could nick many things that are getting funded that you could absolutely make a case that education institutions and teachers, this money needs to go there, and then you can get that overturned, okay? So there's absolutely things that we can reallocate funds to without raising taxes. Now, I also think there needs to be tax incentives. What you need is tax breaks and or student loan forgiveness programs for teachers. Okay, if you're not going to make their wages higher, at least give them some benefits for being a teacher, okay? If you don't want to reallocate funds, which is stupid, but okay, there needs to be some tax breaks and forgiveness. Like if you're a teacher in LA, you know how much tax you're paying? There definitely needs to be some breaks. Come on. Grants. There needs to be grants that supplement teacher salaries. There are many grants being given out that aren't necessary, that could be given toward teacher salaries, okay? There needs to be automatic pay adjustments to keep up with inflation. Inflation rises, we give more taxes because of inflation, okay, their salaries need to go up because of inflation. But I would honestly say the main thing is, taking money from less important things and putting it toward a very important thing, which is education, okay? Now, here's some things you can do, to help change this. The number one thing you can do to enact change in society is vote, okay? Do your research on all the candidates for your local, state, and federal governments. Do your research. Look at what they say they're going to do. Look at their history, okay? And make the right choice for whatever you believe from what you see is right. It's your choice. If we vote the correct people up, we can get some of this stuff done. I don't care what side you are on or where you are politically. Research, do actual research of each side, of each candidate, what they believe, what aligns best with what you want, what aligns best with teachers getting more money. I'll look, whatever candidate does that, boom. Advocate at school board meetings. Now, if you're a parent or a community member even, you don't have to have a kid that goes there. You can go to the school boards and you can push for higher pay, okay? You can have a voice at those meetings. Teacher unions. There are teacher unions out there you can support. When you have a collective union, you are more likely going to enact some sort of change or awareness. Lastly is fundraising initiatives, okay? There are local organizations and businesses that do this exact thing. You can donate to them, you can attend fundraisers, you can start fundraisers. You can basically contribute to resources that ease teachers' financial burdens. So those are sort of the things I have. I'm sure there's many other things, but I hope you guys watch this and you sort of kind of take what I've said, and this is about teachers getting higher pay, but apply it to other things in our society. And I hope you enjoyed the vid. I hope this brought some more awareness to kind of what teachers are going through. And I think they need to be paid more. So let's get on it.